Hi, everybody. You have Shannon and Gina back with you today. And say hi, Shannon, while we're getting started today.
Hello.
Yay. All right. So we wanted to talk today about a topic that we're very passionate about. And it has to do with kids and how kids eat. So you've heard us talk a lot about how we can kind of change our own habits, how we can improve our own diets a little bit. But one of the things that's really tough is that, we're kind of perpetuating the cycle of, all of us growing up eating some of the things that don't serve us as well. And so, because of our lifestyles, because we are busy, because everything's going on, we tend to turn to convenience foods and everything else when we're feeding the kids. And we want to talk a little bit about maybe some things that we do often when talking to kids or working with kids to get them to eat certain things that maybe are causing, better or not, or building habits that are going to lead to issues down the road without us really realizing it. And then kind of some things that would be good ideas for how to build those habits and make it a little bit more likely that kids will choose healthier options going forward and maybe give you less hassle as they are as you're trying to feed them healthier options as well. So that's the topic that we want to dive into today. And as you can imagine, it's probably we could go on for a long time about it, and we're trying to keep these relatively short and manageable bits. So we'll probably start talking about a little bit younger kids today, and then do some future episodes that talk about kids that are school age and how that changes things, how things work a little bit differently once they're a little bit older. So does that sound good? You ready to dive in, Shan?
Sounds good.
Perfect. All right. So let's start maybe with, one of the things that is kind of funny to think about is, it seems that all kids have some negative association with vegetables, whether it's all or some vegetables, but you have to wonder, kids don't come out of the womb not liking nutritious food. So how does that get created? How do they form so early those pickier habits where they really don't want to eat, some of the natural fresh food? They really are hooked on the sugary stuff before, they even get to be school aged. And so I think a lot of that really, is probably due to a lot of our own habits that we're all trying to break as well. And the fact, again, that, a lot of what we do is based on what we have time to do or what we, our busy lives allow us to do. And I think, it's because just like with our own lives and our own habits, once you taste the sugary, sweet stuff, you get that taste, that taste forms in your taste buds, and it's hard to then go back to things that are not as sickeningly sweet, and they taste, obviously less, maybe less appealing to kids because they've gotten used to some of the sugary snacks. So for me, that's one thing that I think about a lot, is that we just kind of, it kind of naturally creates that craving for things that are less healthy, because as soon as they get in the habit of eating those sugary sweets, then the other stuff doesn't taste, quite as sweet or as good to them. Do you think that's something that you've noticed a lot too?
Yeah, it seems like so I just have the one-year-old, but he's very interested in what I'm eating. And so if I'm eating like or blue, he wants whatever I have. And so he'll go to the refrigerator. He knows where the fruit's hidden. Well, I guess kept, not hidden. And he'll go to the refrigerator and he'll like bang on it and point out like, my food's in here, gimme. And so I've just made it a point that instead of letting him or introducing, like, I know some people give 4-month-olds bagels with cream cheese or Nutella and stuff, and they're teething, and so they're letting them gnaw on it. I just never gave him that. So he hasn't had the option. And so actually at his first birthday, we gave him the icing on his cake, and he actually spit it out because he's like, this is too sweet.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I know a lot of people reach for foods that they think are convenient, but they forget that fresh fruit can be convenient and fresh veggies can be convenient. And so it's just kind of like, well, the thing that's in the package it's naturally in a package, therefore it's naturally convenient. But like Finn, he pounds blueberries right now. Blueberries and strawberries and pretty much any fruit except for bananas. Shockingly enough, he can't eat those. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, and the fruit is, has that natural sweetness, which, can be very appealing to kids. It's just that sometimes if they're used to like icing sweetness, then the fruit doesn't taste as sweet. And, maybe that is one of the easier things for kids to eat. But to your point about, reaching for the convenience foods too, maybe that's also because that's what we keep in the house for us to eat sometimes. So if we keep a bag of pretzels or a bag of crackers, and then it's just easy that that's the thing that we give to kids to eat as well. And so that's why it's, it seems more convenient than something like fruit or veggies, because a lot of times we don't have the habit of keeping, ready to eat fruit in the fridge or ready to eat veggies in the fridge. And so it's easier when the kids are begging for a snack to just pull out the crackers, the goldfish, all of those kinds of things that are really just sugar when it comes down to it. No actual nutrient value in that stuff.
Yeah. Well, and I've been really fortunate of a lot of my close friends are or have been pediatric nurses. And so when I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to feed Finn. I know there are like restrictions of like, wait till he's 1 for this, wait till he's 9 months for that, wait till he's 6 months for this, that kind of stuff. And the thing that they pointed out, because a lot of people be like, oh, my kid doesn't like carrots, or my kid doesn't like sweet potatoes, or they hate apples. And so Finn, I thought he hated applesauce. No, it was just a totally different flavor profile than the sweet potatoes he had been eating, or the thing I don't understand is when they mix up meat with the veggies in the little pods for baby food. I get where that's not appealing, but like he was eating that, and then we gave him applesauce as like, we're like, apples are good. But then my friends were like, no, he'll eventually like it. It just takes between 12 and 20 exposures before they're like, yes, this is a food that I should eat. Because they just have to build that flavor profile. Because to your point, they don't come out of the womb like knowing that they want to eat sugar. And it's just like, they don't know what they like. So we kind of have to teach them. And they're like, just keep trying. He'll eventually like it. As long as they're not having a reaction to it, just keep trying. He'll eventually like it. Yeah. And then it's like when he sees me eating apple slices, he's like, gimme.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's true. I mean, it's true for adults actually too, is that in my own habits, there are many things that I wouldn't eat originally, and I just kind of kept trying it and maybe trying it in different ways, and eventually you develop a taste for it. So it does, it does very much require that you keep trying. So, one thing that I think is an easy thing to get caught up in doing is if there are 2 vegetables that your kids will eat, is that those become the 2 vegetables that you serve at every meal, because you can do it without a battle at dinner time. But limiting that variety is something that would become a problem eventually too, because ideally you want them to like a variety of things so that they're getting that variety of nutrients as well. So even if it's doing it along with a vegetable that they like, preparing something, say they don't like broccoli, or they apparently don't like broccoli, you make that with carrots because they like carrots, and you ask them to try it. If they try it, they say don't like it, don't force it, because it does create kind of a negative association with it, but keep trying it and keep introducing it. So, don't say, okay, they don't eat broccoli, so I'm never going to fix it again. Keep trying it, and maybe trying it in different ways. So if you tried it steamed or boiled, try it roasted, because sometimes just roasting it with some seasoning will help a lot in getting kids to be able to try it again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I know a lot of people lean towards like more bland foods, and like we make a pasta dish that's actually a spicier pasta, and well, it's a spicier sauce that goes on the pasta. That's the point. And Finn loves it. Like I'll try giving him plain pasta, and he's like, no, thank you. But if I make any kind of like linguine or the cizzolini, which is the spicy pasta or anything like that, we can put a few noodles on his plate and they're gone. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, did you give those to the dog? And no, he ate them. But if I give him just plain pasta, that he wants nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Unless it has flavor. Like I gave him Gouda cheese one time, and now he hates mozzarella. Mm-hmm. Like, all right. And so he likes a stronger flavor profile just because that's what I've been feeding him. And now I've inadvertently created a food snob, but that's fine.
Which is kind of good. I mean, so there are 2 things that I think of when you say that, because a lot of what I hear from my clients or parents in general is, I end up having to make 3 meals every night. and I don't have time for that. And that's why we end up eating, going through a fast food restaurant, because I make one thing for the kids that they'll eat. I make one thing for my husband that he'll eat, and then I make my own thing because I'm trying to watch my weight or do whatever it is. And so you create this, if you're fixing it one way for the kids and then a different way for yourself, you're kind of creating that scenario where you are, you become a restaurant and you're taking everything to order every night. And so getting into the habit very early on, if your kids are very young, of having them try it the same way that you're trying, that you're eating it, I think can be very good, because then you don't have to get into that routine where you have to alter it every time, and you can, focus on making it one way, save yourself a lot of time, and get the kids used to eating it that way as well.
Yeah. Because that's something like a lot of my friends had kids before Red and I did. And so I've kind of been like watching and being like, oh, that's not working at all. Oh, that worked. And so like sort of taking notes and using what's worked best for other people. And the thing is, I don't want to be in one of those, like, my kid won't eat what I made. And so then you get in the arguments of sit and eat this, sit and eat that. I said, we're going to do this. You can't get up from the table, clean your plate, that kind of mess. And so I've been making a real concerted effort to be like, okay, Finn's going to try these things. And I mean, he's one. So sometimes it's a great thing and sometimes it's not. And then I just try it again. And then I try it again. Then I try it again. And then it might work. Mm-hmm. But it's just sometimes I'll hear like, oh, my kid will only eat chicken nuggets. That's the only thing they're going to eat. Or they're only going to eat macaroni and cheese that comes from the blue Kraft box instead of the macaroni and cheese that was made from scratch. Or they only eat like fill in blank here. And it's just like, well, I know they're picky. I've seen it. I was a picky eater. I remember those battles. Mm-hmm. But I think also my options were sit at the table until it was gone. And I was very willing to sit at the table till the sunset. I still didn't eat it. But I was never given like an option of like, well, okay, if you're not going to eat the broccoli, then you have to eat the green peas. There's broccoli on your plate. You sit until it's gone. End of story. I was like, well, I hate broccoli because that means I have to sit at the table for 6 hours. Mm-hmm. So just like, there's that. But Finn so far is very adventurous. So that works out for me.
Yeah, that's good. And I'm sure there are some kids that are just, by nature not as adventurous eaters, and that can be tough. But that was sort of the second thing that when you mentioned, the whole broccoli scenario before, is some of the things that we end up doing, and I've done it myself with nieces and nephews, I've seen a million people do it, is you resort to, if you don't eat your broccoli, you can't get a treat. And that's such a, so human nature to do that, because you're frustrated. You're sitting at the table trying to get your kid to eat healthy. Kid is, throwing a fit. And so you use the treat as sort of the bribery to get them to eat the good stuff. But what it ends up doing is kind of creating a negative association with the good stuff, and, and a craving for the treats. So if they, the way the kid's going to think about that is, I have to eat this disgusting broccoli to get to the, pot of gold, which is dessert. And so then we all, once they're out of the house and they're making their own decision, well, they're like, okay, now I can have dessert all the time. And that's what they're going to gravitate toward. So maybe instead of, using that as the hook, instead of saying, you have to eat it in order to get a treat, maybe it's, you have to try a bite. If you don't like it, that's okay. You don't have to finish it. But if you're hungry later, we're going to pull out the same, this is what we're going to have. And kind of make sure they understand that this is what we've made for dinner tonight. Mm-hmm. And this is what's available to eat. And maybe to your, suggestion, maybe there are a couple of different vegetable options. So if they don't like the broccoli, they can eat the peas and they're still getting their nutrition. And you don't have to necessarily bribe them with the sugar. So making sure that association, which we're all guilty of, trying to break that association with eat this so you can get to the good stuff. Mm-hmm. Have it be eat this. If you don't like it, you're still going to need to eat something that's good for you. And, this will be available for you later if you decide that you're hungry at that time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the thing of like, just sometimes if the kids know that the treats are in the house, like they will eat what you tell them to or are forced to, but then they're like, cool, but I want 5 mini Milky Ways, or I want 4 chocolate chip cookies or something like that because they're there. But like when I said I was taking notes on like what my friends did, I was like, yes, that's working. Oh, that's not working. One thing I've seen is like some of my friends just flat out don't keep that stuff in their house.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, I do the grocery shopping. And like here, I don't keep a bunch of junk in my house just because I don't have a taste for it, but that's just me. But I do the grocery shopping. And so if I don't buy it, he can't eat it because it's not here. And
Yes.
so then like when he grows up, he'll be like, cool, this is the stuff we eat at my house. And then if he goes to a friend's house and they have like Oreos all the time, he'll see it more as a treat. And like, cool, well, you can go hang out with friends and eat that treat there, but it's still not here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it kind of goes back to a couple of points that we've talked about before in prior discussions. That's where a lot of the meal prep can come into play too, because back to the convenience thing, you know, if you don't have fruit readily cut up and available in the fridge, or you don't have veggies that they can just pull out and snack on themselves, so maybe enabling them to get to it or point to it, like, you know, like Finn does. If you can prep that stuff over the weekend and have it, you know, front and center in the fridge, so that you know, they know that's available, there isn't something else available to them, you know, then that's what they're used to and that's what they're going to do on a regular basis. And I think, you know, then if they do go to a friend's house, yes, maybe that is a treat, and they realize it's just a treat and that's not, you know, what they crave all the time. You know, we talked a little bit too before this about, I think there's a certain point too where you can start to educate kids about why, you know, why is mom forcing me to eat my broccoli, or why don't we have ice cream in our house when, you know, Susie has ice cream in her house all the time, her mom lets her eat it, you know, because they are going to have those situations where they have the choice at, you're not always going to be in front of them, and other, you know, parents may feed their kids differently, and they're going to think, oh gosh, you know, this is something that that other people do, I can do it too. So if, you know, getting to the point when they're a little bit older, of educating them on, why am I making this choice for you right now, and why is it something that you should choose on your own for the most part, and treat the other stuff as treats, you know, it's just special occasions, not all the time stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, definitely like to your point of like educating them in like simple terms. Like I'll watch my friends and even my sister sit there and be like, this is going to make you grow strong. This is going to make you grow big. This will make you run super fast. Because a 3-year-old's not going to go, cool, I'm going to have strong bones. They wouldn't be super fast like a cheetah. And so like you say, these fruits and veggies will make you run fast like this cheetah. Or remember, like if they have a favorite character or cartoon or something that's like a superhero, remember this one, they'll do that. And so it's like, oh, good. And then if like they have the sweets, kind of be like, they're sweet, they do nothing for you. It's like,
Yeah.
that might taste good, but it's not going to make you strong. And
Yeah.
they'll be like, oh, well, it tastes good, so I'll eat it. But this one's going to be fast. And so they think it's cool.
Yeah. Putting it in terms that they can relate to, because yeah, you know, if you're trying to explain the science to them at the age of 4, it's probably not going to go very far, right?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Your bone's nice and strong because you have soft bone and blah, blah, blah. They're not going to care.
you know, yeah. I think about it with, so I have nephews that really like farming equipment, tractors, all that good stuff. And so, you know, I think about the comparison of, they know what makes a tractor run, that they have to put fuel in the tractor to make the tractor run well. And if they were to try to put something else other than fuel in the tractor, that it wouldn't run well. And maybe kind of making a comparison like that to something that they're interested in. So saying, okay, it's the same with your body. You know, if you put the good fuel in there, then your tractor is going to run, you know, your body's going to run well. If you put other stuff in there that's not supposed to have, then it's not going to run the way it's supposed to. And just, you know, those kinds of things, find something that the child's interested in that they can relate it to. So I think, yeah, you're spot on there. It has to be put in an age appropriate context.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it's very much monkey see, monkey do. Like I said, Finn wants to eat whatever I'm eating. And so as long as I'm eating good things, then he's like, cool, mom eats it, therefore it's good. And there can be sometimes like he's getting to the point now where he sees food on my plate and I can take it off my plate, put it on his plate, but it's still not good enough, even though it came directly from my plate and he saw it. But he'll sit in my lap and he'll eat off of my plate. And so as long as I've got, like, he was eating pasta noodles the other night off of mine, even though he had the same ones on his.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so just, they want to eat what you eat.
They do. Yeah, and setting the example is hugely important. And both, you know, if they're two authority figures in the house, both people, walking the talk too makes a difference, because if they see one parent or guardian who doesn't have to eat that stuff, then they're like, well, daddy doesn't have to do it, or mom, whoever it is doesn't have to do it, so
Right.
yeah. So yeah, you're right. That's a big important piece of it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know today was gonna be like 0 to 5, just because I keep thinking of other things, and I'm like, well, that doesn't really help until they're in elementary school. Because like right now, it's building the habits at home, because that's where they are primarily. I mean, unless they go to a daycare, which is fine, but still, Finn doesn't go to a daycare, but I know some people do, and it seems like they still primarily give them healthy things. Like they might give them goldfish and stuff because they're cheap and easy, and that's fine. But like building the foundation that way, once they are 5, 6, 7, 8 and in elementary school, and they start packing lunches or buying lunches. But that could be a whole nother tangent down the road.
Yeah. Yes. There's a whole lot more, I think, that we can dive into on this subject, but I'm glancing at the clock and seeing that we've probably talked for our standard time limit that we're trying to stay within. So I think in summary, just starting out for younger kids, it's really about modeling the way. It's about, kind of continuing to introduce these things to them so that they can try it again and again and again. And then trying to avoid the sort of bribery tactics of, if you do this, then I'll give you the sweet stuff, and not creating those associations, which will probably not serve them well in the long term. So, there's no pretending it's easy. It's certainly not. So it does take some fortitude, and it does take some practice, but just like, sitting down and working through homework with your kid is not always easy. It does take some effort to get there, but it pays off in the long run. So, so consider it, give it, I guess, food for thought on how to maybe do things a little bit differently. So yes, we focused on young kids, so we'll be back talking more about, once they're school aged, and what are some other tactics that work when it comes to trying to get your kids to eat better and simplify your own life so that you don't have to argue with them all the time. You don't have to create several meals, and, hopefully harmony comes from it in the end. Yes. Good.
Unified household.
Yes, a happy household. All right. Well, thanks for joining us again. And as we mentioned, we'll be back at you. You can, just as a reminder again, follow us on our YouTube channels, and you'll get notified whenever we make a new one. So we will talk to you again soon. Bye, everybody.